Now my RD400 is a 1977, but all through the 70s I had Yamahas, and I was Mr. Yamaha back then. I had my faux race bikes that I raced in Amar. I had my street bikes that I made into cafe racers, and I'm always trying to relive that wonderful time. Now I got, luckily for me, Ray in Florida still has my original race bike, and it's restored and running today. I got this one with Luciano's help and restored it about 10 years ago, and I never regret the time I spent restoring it because it helps me keep the 70s alive. And the 70s, what a wonderful time to be alive. Now, every time I put gas in the two-stroke, I always think, back in the day, the one thing in the 70s we never gave any thought to at all, even with cars, was mileage. Well, nowadays, with gas more expensive, of course, and people trying to keep the planet clean, well, yeah, but the funny thing that everything I remember about the 70s was nobody cared about, nobody even looked at the price of gas. It was funny. You take the change out of your pocket and fill up the bike. But that was so funny. And of course, no credit cards. But the 70s were an amazing time for me. There's times in everybody's life, I guess, where you're involved in a sport like motorcycling, and that's the peak of your interest. And you go into the races and you're doing, all your friends are riding, and the weekends would come and everybody just be gathering at some local place to have a sandwich or a bagel or coffee. And the biggest thing was just to get out on the open road and get a bunch of bikes, especially if they were two-strokes. And everybody I know knows this. You'd get a bunch of two-strokes, the light would change, you'd try to wiggle through traffic, try to get to the front of the line. All of the people in cars would be going, oh, these bikes are smoking, oh my God, they're on fire. When that light changed, it looked like terrorism, hooliganism, and what it really was two-strokeism at its very best. What's funny is if you're a younger guy now, and of course the bikes nowadays are just wonderful with all this safety features and traction control and whatnot, and the tremendous power they make. But back in the 70s, it was a little bit different, just a little bit different. Bikes were not electric start. Not a lot of women rode bikes. Not sure if that was good or bad, but anyway, they didn't make bikes specifically for women like some manufacturers do. And I kind of like the idea that women ride, but this was a manly sport back in the 70s. And if you had a motorcycle, you were a man. You were a man among men, at least in my crowd. But it's that two-stroke thing. The guys with the bigger bikes, the more expensive bikes, they were annoyed to all living hell that you could buy a bike so cheap and it could be so quick and so fast and so much fun to ride, and no valve jobs and no tremendous maintenance and things like that. It was a very competitive time between the 4-strokes, the 2-strokes. The government hadn't put the finger in the eye yet and started limiting everything. What a wonderful time this was. And I, for one, am very thankful always that I got to live in this time. Now, I don't resent the time I have now. I have a very humble motorcycle collection. I enjoy the modern bikes. I enjoy my MT-09, my R1, and yada, yada, yada. But there's just something special about throwing a leg over a 2-stroke, getting a couple of your friends together that are still keeping the 70s alive. And when you're out on the open road, in your mind, it's still the 70s. Now, I'm going to be 80 years old very soon, but I look back and I am so happy, again, that some of my friends, Luciano among others, and Mark Morgan, of course, and Scott and Dale, have kept the 2-strokes alive and well. And they're still out on the open road, and you can still go out for a ride, and you can smell that 2-stroke oil, or you can take a nice cruise, look at the scenery, or you can just pull in front of some cars, and usually they'll roll the window down and tell you your bike's on fire. But it's so much fun. I don't know what there is about modern motorcycling. Modern motorcycling is very different. It seems like it's more serious. It seems like, and definitely more expensive. And definitely the bikes are just wonderful. But these old 2-strokes. And anybody that lived through this era, or maybe there's some young guys that even appreciate 2-strokes. I don't know. But most of the people that comment on the video, 2 things. They like to hear the 2-strokes go through the gears. I wish there was a way I could put the the smell of the 2-stroke oil coming out of the TV or your monitor, your phone, or whatever. But there is something about this. I really am not sure what it is, but the 70s were, to me, just a very, very special time. When I restored this bike, Luciano helped me with the engine. He was very, very, very good at fitting the pistons, and we put cylinders and pistons on it. Kenny Augustine had done some work on the heads, the late Kenny Augustine. We did a lot of stuff. I put new carburetors on it, brand new Sudcos, and brand new Makunis from Sudco. I did a lot of work polishing the engine. And as I was doing this, I spent a lot of hours trying to make this bike that I would have it for the rest of my life. And in a way, I've succeeded. I've succeeded beyond my wildest dreams. But owning the bike is a lot of fun when my friends come over that have never seen a 2-stroke. Oh, start it. Let's hear what it sounds like. That's fun. But there is one thing above everything else, is when you get your friends together, and I know people around the world know this. You get 2 or 3 riders with 2-strokes, and that sound and the smoke and the smell, and that there's just something about it that modern bikes, maybe they will captivate the younger people with it, but these are the bikes that over my lifetime, one of them that captivated me. So if you, like me, remember the 70s and remember them with a big smile on your face, I hope you did enjoy this video. I hope it brought back some memories. Riding these old 2-strokes brings back more memories than I could ever put on a video. And I look back at that time of my life, and again, at this time looking back is about all I get to do. And It was wonderful. It was a time, a special time in history. I don't know how you could compare it. There really is no comparison because the modern world is full of wonderful things, but boy, the 70s were too. There were some things about going to a bike dealer and not having to take out a mortgage on your house to buy a bike, and having that all your friends were young and they all had bikes. And I remember buying those quarts of two-stroke oil, putting them up under my jacket and driving home. It was just a wonderful time to be alive. It's so hard to explain it, but I know from the comments on the video, and thank you everybody that posts really nice comments. When I get on my Yamaha and I give that Kickstarter a kick, it's just wonderful. I am back in the 70s. Now, if you're new to our channel, we have a very, very eclectic channel. One of the new features we have now is some of the videos are grouped into groups that you can access all the videos for one category in one mouse click. And it should be very convenient and very handy. Just check out the feature on the main screen playlist. And thanks to everybody for supporting the channel. We appreciate your support, and it makes this channel possible with all the things we do, the painting, the wheels, the polishing. And please take a second or two and hit the like button. And thanks everyone for watching.